Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again to the Lucid Sight Collective Podcast. Today is going to be a little bit different than the other episodes. I'm going to tell you guys about my dreams. And this won't be like a comprehensive episode because I started recording my dreams not too long ago, like 2.5 years ago maybe, and I have over 200 dreams recorded, so I'm definitely not going to tell you guys all of them, but I think I'm going to kind of try to categorize them a little bit, maybe. I don't know if I can do that, but yeah, I can definitely try. So I'm going to be posting like a couple, at least like maybe like 2 or 3 of these personal dream story episodes. Like, I don't know, maybe within like the next 4 months or something, I'll like filter them in with my regular episodes too. But I definitely want to share some of my personal dreams because I don't know, I think dream stories are so interesting. I always tell you guys to share your dreams with me. If you have any cool dream stories that you're willing to share, I would really love to hear them. I love dream stories, and I really want to do a listener story episode too. So if you guys would like to share your dreams with me, please DM my Instagram at lucid.sight.co, because yeah, I'd really love to share your dreams, and we can keep it anonymous or not, just let me know in your message. So yeah, with that being said, let's get into my dreams. So I think this episode in particular is going to be about the dreams that I had in my childhood, anywhere from like 6 years old to middle school, maybe some high school, probably not though. I'll probably save those. And I'm going to specifically be talking about either the lucid dreams that I used to have or the reoccurring dreams. And you guys will get to hear a little bit about my lucid dreaming journey, from like when I was a kid all the way to adulthood now. And I will tell like the story, I guess, in like 2-3 episodes, maybe possibly 4. But like I said in earlier episodes, I was a natural lucid dreamer as a child, and probably around the age of like 16, my ability started to fade. So most of the lucid dreams that I've had have occurred when I was a child. But I will also do episodes about lucid dreams I've had as an adult and just regular dreams as well. And I'm thinking of doing a premonition dream episode too, because I've had a couple of those. But yeah, I wanted to start out with this because these stories are basically the roots of my dream world, and they're a foundation for the other stories that I'm going to be telling. And also, just a general disclaimer, I did not used to write my dreams down as a kid. Some of them, like I've maybe wrote down like 2 to 3 dreams from like middle school and before. But other than that, this is just from my memory. So I hope that I can concisely explain it to you guys. And this episode is a little bit vulnerable to share with you guys, but I also made this podcast to help destigmatize DreamTalk in general. And a lot of people think like, oh my gosh, I could never tell anyone this dream because it was so strange or weird, but all dreams are weird, and that is literally the nature of a dream in itself. And by talking about them, it can help bring us closer together, because this is an experience that we all have. And even though a lot of people don't have great dream recall in general, most can remember 1 or 2 dreams that they've had in their life that scared or disturbed them or inspired them, or they felt absolute awe or confusion. But there also will always be those people who hate talking about their dreams or hearing about other people's dreams, but I'm trying to bridge a gap here and spread ideas that hopefully people will receive. All right, so the first dream that we're going to talk about, I titled it Dragon Chase, and this is the first dream that I can ever remember having. And like I said, I didn't ever used to write down my dreams or anything. I just started doing that in 2020. So, yeah, if this is like my adult mind trying to remember what my 6-year-old brain dreamt, but like the dreams that I've written down are the ones that really stuck with me and that like I can still vividly recall as a 23-year-old. So, yeah, this is titled Dragon Chase and this is a reoccurring dream. I would have this dream all the time, like sometimes twice a night, but most of the time like once a week, once a month, whatever. And then eventually it stopped happening. But I was running in this golden field and I was running for my life, like so terrified. And I could hear this huge monster chasing me from behind. And once I finally got the courage to, I looked behind my shoulder while I was sprinting for dear life. I could see this huge dragon slash dinosaur chasing me. And I remember it being all bright pink and yellow. Anyways, I was always terrified in this dream. And the dragon dinosaur always catches up to me in the dream and it eventually swallows me whole and eats me. And I travel through its esophagus and I end up like falling out of its esophagus into its stomach onto the floor. And I get up and I look around and the stomach is huge and it's filled with a bunch of these different rooms and chambers. And the room that I was dropped into, it has this huge pool inside and it's like this pool is like glowing and it's pretty dark in the stomach, but I can still see and there's dolphins like jumping all around in this pool and they're doing tricks and I like could come up to them and they would let me pet them. And I remember it being like a city in this dinosaur's stomach and I would go from like different section to section and each room was themed. And I wasn't alone in there. There was a bunch of people. It was like a whole community inside of this dinosaur's stomach. And I remember it just feeling like paradise. Like this was my favorite place on earth was inside this dragon's stomach. And I never wanted to leave. And like I just felt like I had found my home. But I would have this dream all the time. Like I said, like sometimes multiple times a night, but it always started with me being terrified and just running for my life and like having the worst feeling in my stomach. And then eventually whatever's chasing me catches up with me and swallows me whole. And I realize that like what's inside of this thing that's chasing me is literal paradise. And like literally my version of paradise, like fucking dolphins swimming in a glowing pool. like every room was like a different theme of like one of my passions. And yeah, I would have this dream all the time. And I was probably like 6 years old when I started having this dream, like super young. That wasn't a lucid dream, but I wanted to start with it because it's the first dream that I can really remember having. And I know that I've had dreams before this, but they're all very vague and I can't really recall any solid images from them. I just know that I used to have nightmares before this and after too, but this one in particular is so drilled into my brain because every single time I had it, it was exactly the same. Nothing changed at all. And I was never able to become lucid in it. But this dream sequence is a big part of my childhood. And since it was so reoccurring, it must have been significant to me. And looking back on this dream now, knowing what I know, it's honestly kind of profound that I could have had this dream so young and that it was so reoccurring. And yeah, it has a completely different meaning to me now than it did as a kid. When I was young, I just saw this as like a scary monster that was chasing me, and then eventually everything was fine. But looking back on this dream, it is chocked full of personal symbolism that would be a theme for me in my life to come. And looking at this dream now, it really speaks to me on a deep level. So, yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And I had never really thought of it until recently, but this theme has continued in my dream world. And it shows this theme in many different ways. And one of the most profound lucid dreaming experiences I've ever had deals with this same theme. And God, I want to tell you guys the story so bad, but I'm gonna save it until I do the episode on my lucid dreams as an adult. So I guess I'll just leave a cliffhanger there, but I'm really excited to tell that. Another dream that I would have all the time as a little kid, like 5, 6 years old, I call this the crocodile video game dream. And this is also a reoccurring dream. And I would have this dream all the time too, and it had the same feeling of like absolute dread. But this dream was the worst. Like, I don't consider the other dream bad because it ends in literal paradise. Like, it just starts off as a nightmare. But this dream, oh my God, it's literal absolute hell. And I have it like once every month or something as like a 5 or 6 year old. And in this dream, it looks like a really old pixelated video game from like the 80s or something. And I'm in a swamp, and there are a bunch of docks that I have to jump from one to the other in order to cross to the other side. And the docks are hovering over like this swampy lake area. And there's a crocodile in between each dock with its mouth open. And remember, it's in like a video game style. So I start to jump and the crocodile eats me. I can't jump like that span of distance. So I respawn and then I jump again and the crocodile eats me. I respawn again. I try to jump as far as I can over this crocodile's mouth onto the next dock, and the crocodile eats me again. It happens for like 10 minutes, and I get so frustrated that I just like try to jump off the dock the other way, and it never works. And every once in a while in this dream, I would get to like the second or third dock, but I always get eaten and I always respawning, and the dream lasts forever. And this is the first lucid dream that I can remember having when I was a kid. I had this dream so often, and it was so awful that eventually I was able to realize I was in a dream, and it became kind of a lucid nightmare, which this is like the only experience I've had with a lucid nightmare. But I've heard from other people that they can be way worse than regular nightmares because you know you're dreaming, but you can't get out of the dream. Like, you can't wake yourself up. And so it just feels like it lasts an eternity, and you're in this like really scary dream. You can't change it. Like, you don't have enough power in your lucidity to change anything in the dream, but you're just aware that you're dreaming. And so it makes it feel like it lasts forever. But I remember I always hated when I had this dream, and I didn't always become lucid, but the worst nights when I had it were when I became lucid because I couldn't control it, and it would just make me even more frustrated. It was like actual torture and just like a literal eternity. And yeah, and when I wrote it down, oh wait, shit, it's hard to read like how I write. But in the writing I wrote, I'm just realizing this now, that a lot of my childhood dreams were in video game format, even though I never played video games as a kid. But I don't know, I was never really around them, so I don't know where that came from. But I've personally never heard of anyone dreaming in video game format, but I'm sure that it's fairly common for people who play video games to dream like this. I think it's kind of interesting that I used to dream like this a lot, even though I never played video games as a kid. But I think it was kind of almost like my outlet where I couldn't play video games in real life, so I just played them while I was dreaming. But I was the video game. It's not like I was looking at a screen or anything. Like that I was immersed in the video game world, and it had like the same format. Sometimes it was like a really pixelated video game, sometimes it was a newer video game, but I don't know. I think this is interesting to look back on them and like visualize them, because I don't have these anymore. My dreams are normal all the time. But some people dream in like black and white. If they watch black and white films a lot, or if they're exposed to like black and white photography, this can happen. Other people sometimes dream in 2 dimensions. Also, you can just dream in like sounds or colors. Like it doesn't have to be pictures, which I'll do episodes on that later. But yeah, this is interesting. As far as I can remember, this crocodile video game dream is the first lucid dream that I've had. At least the first lucid dream that I can vividly remember the storyline and what was happening, and like still like recall and like see vividly the scene. So I consider this to be like my first real recallable lucid dream. But before I figured out how to control my lucidity in the dream, I was just stuck in this lucid nightmare state every time it happened. But eventually, as time went on, the lucidity spread to my other dreams. And I kind of think that this is due to the fact that I used to have really intense and vivid nightmares all the time as a kid. And they were scary. Like, I would wake up panting in full sweats and have to sleep with my mom for the rest of the night. And it became a real problem for me. And eventually, because it happened so often, I was able to realize that they weren't real, and that all I had to do to make them end was wake up. And at some point in my childhood, every single dream I had, I knew it wasn't real. And I didn't yet have access to control them, but I always had access to some sort of low level of lucidity in every single one of my dreams. And this made it so that they didn't feel as scary anymore. And even though it was annoying to be lucid in a nightmare, at least I knew that it wasn't real on some level. And eventually I learned how to wake myself up mid-nightmare. And at this point, I still didn't know how to control my dreams, but it was still a good trick, and it was useful to get out of stressful situations in dreams. I would just will myself awake, basically. Somehow, I would just say to myself, wake up, and I could physically connect to my muscles in my waking body and have my brain open my eyeballs, like my eyelids, and that would wake me up. Like the act of opening my eyes would then wake me up. So it's not like my body was waking up and then I would open my eyes, but in my dream state, I would tell my brain to open my eyelids on my waking body so that would wake me up, and it would work every time. All I had to do was just like focus super hard for like 2 or 3 seconds, and it would instantly happen. Yeah, I just remember like somehow harnessing that ability, and once I was able to do it, I could do it all the time. And whenever I was having a vivid nightmare, I could instantly wake myself up. And eventually that led to me not being scared in the nightmare and then being able to shift the dream lucidly. So, somewhere along the way, I eventually learned how to harness my lucidity in a different way. And when I learned how to control my dreams, this opened up an entirely new world of dreaming to me. And like I said, there was a point where every single dream I had was lucid. And at this point, I could control my dreams now. So eventually, if you can believe it, I got kind of bored with lucid dreaming. And while I was lucid in a dream, I would almost like suspend my disbelief and almost try to play along like as if I was an actor or like watching a show, and like I just like wanted to like let my brain take control even though I was still lucid in the dream. I would just play along, and it was kind of fun for me because I had so many lucid dreams at this point that I was just kind of over it for a little bit. And like I told you guys before, eventually I stopped the art of lucid dreaming, and I just didn't take care of my mind in that way, and I almost lost my ability entirely, but and maybe I did, honestly, but I've been able to build it back up over like the last 3 to 4 years. And probably 2 of those years I wasn't very serious at all. But the past 2 years, I've been really diving deep into getting back to the place where I was before. And maybe I'll never be as good of a dreamer as I was as a child. But what is good dreaming? Like, it's all interesting. And wherever you are in your journey, just enjoy where you're at, because the dream world is so amazing regardless. And even if you can't remember your dreams, this makes it even more exciting when you do remember your dreams, or if you do have that lucid dreaming experience, even if you don't get to control things necessarily. But yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about my journey back into lucidity in the next few Dream Talk episodes. But for now, I'll go back to telling you guys about my childhood dreams. Honestly, pretty much the only other dream that I can remember from my childhood isn't a lucid dream, but the only reason that I remember it is because it was so like long and vivid and complex, and it followed a storyline kind of like a movie. And I literally turned it into like a creative writing essay in 3rd grade, and I like entered it into a contest and I really thought that I would win, but I don't think that I did. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered if I won. But it was one of those video game dreams that I was talking about. And yeah, just really didn't make any sense at all, but I tried to make it into an award-winning essay in the 3rd grade. But yeah, that's how my dreams were as a kid. Like, they were so complex and almost like followed a movie like storyline. And yeah, they were some wild dreams. I really wish that I kept a dream journal as a kid, because it would be so fun to read. But yeah, I'll just tell you guys this really quick, just the intro to the dream, because after the intro, it gets really complex and confusing, and I can't even begin to explain it to you guys. But the dream started out with me with a false awakening. So I woke up in my bedroom, and I just felt this strong urge, like a pull that I needed to go outside, like something was calling me. And so I got out of my bed, and it was early in the morning, like 4 in the morning, and it was still dark outside. And it was super foggy, like this thick, mystical smoke that was rolling and swirling in. And it was wintertime. And I go outside, and I think it was actually wintertime in real life when I had this dream. But I go outside of my house, and it's snowing, and there's a pack of wild wolves waiting for me. And the name of my street that my childhood home was on was Grey Wolf Avenue. So I didn't think anything weird of it now, but the gray wolf is like, I don't know, it's a very powerful animal. And I just remember like feeling this pull that I needed to go outside. And when I went outside, there was a pack of wolves waiting for me. And this entire dream is super vivid, but when I meet these wolves, like it is a crazy experience. I can see the steam come off their breath. And like I walk up to them and I like reach my hand out and they come up to me and I'm petting these wolves and they're huge. And I eventually get on this wolf, like I'm barefoot in the snow and I literally like climb on top of this wolf and it starts walking and then running and I'm like literally running with this pack of wolves, like holding on for dear life on top of this gigantic wolf. And they lead me to this train that takes me to this video game land where I have to defeat all of these levels. And I don't even know, I can't explain anything after that. But I thought the intro to the dream was really surreal and kind of like, I don't know, it felt like really spiritual to me at the time. And when I woke up, I was like, I need to make this into a movie. Like, everyone will come and watch this. And yeah, my only outlet was to write that essay because that's what was going on in school at the time. And I was like, I have the perfect story. So yeah, that's my story. And this dream was not lucid, like I said. So when I woke up in my bed, I thought that I was really awake and it felt real, like when like meeting those wolves, like I could see the steam coming off of their snouts when they breathed, like in the winter cold. So I don't know, this dream was really cool and I just remember thinking that it was awesome when I had it, obviously, because I wanted to share it with the world. So that pretty much concludes the dreams that I had as like a little child. And then these next stories are getting into like 5th grade, 6th grade Ivy. And just like a short little backstory for you guys. At this time, I was reading this book series by James Patterson called the Maximum Ride series, and I am not a reader, like, at least I wasn't when I was a kid. I have really bad dyslexia and ADHD, so reading is just, it wasn't for me as a kid. Like, I could read, but I couldn't do it well, and like during school, I would just pretend that I was reading and hope that I wouldn't get called on. But yeah, I was one of those kids. So when I finally found a book series that I could actually read and actually enjoyed reading and like wasn't like a little kid's book, I just like really fell deep into this universe. And it was like the storyline basically was these kids that were taken from their parents when they were born, and like they said that it was like a stillbirth or something, so their parents think that they're dead, but the government takes these kids and experiments on them, and they're like splicing their DNA with other animals, so they're like genetic hybrids, these kids. And this group of kids that are hybrids with birds, like birds of prey, they have these huge wings that span like 8 to 10 feet wingspan, and they're like on their back, they look like normal people, and then when they want to fly, they just like fold out and they can fly. And they end up breaking out of the government facility and they're running from these government people, the whole book series basically. But I would have these dreams where I would be a Maximum Ride character, and then eventually, as I started to like gain that control over my lucidity, I was able to gain lucidity in like my dream, whatever that dream may have been. And then whatever I was doing, like I knew instantly that I wanted to fly. And the way that I knew how to at the time was to unfold my wings from my back, and these huge wings would unfold, and I would just run like 7 to 8 paces and jump up in the air as high as I could and let my wings unfurl, and they would just take me into the air, and I was able to fly that way. And these dreams would be so long and so vivid, and I was able to keep lucidity throughout the whole dream, and it would last like it felt like an hour. But yeah, I was able to have like super cool storylines and like be with the characters in the book. And yeah, flying dreams are just cool in general, but this was like a constant reoccurring dream that I would create all the time as like a 5th and 6th grader. So yeah, I was having these dreams like every night, and I would go on different adventures every night, and I would be flying, like soaring in these beautiful canyons, like the most beautiful landscape that you could ever imagine, and like so high up in the sky. And then we would just like dive bomb down like straight to the ground, like thousands of feet. And like you can feel the wind like going through your hair and like hitting your eyes, and you can feel the like tension when you like put your wings back out and it catches the air. And like I learned how to fly so well and like aerodynamically in these dreams, and they just kept getting better and better and better as time went on. And yeah, that I just remember that all the time. And even to this day, like as a 23-year-old, I can gain lucidity and choose to have those dreams when I want to. And like nowadays, a lot of the times I just fly by like either just like knowing that I can, like I don't even have to do anything really. It's more like floating, or I do it like Superman style a lot too, which that's just like you put your arms out and like will it into existence, basically. I don't know. But every once in a while, I'll bring my wings out, and it is like such a good feeling. But yeah, I just remember having those flying dreams like all the time, and I would choose to have them. Like I would gain lucidity and just like change the dream and fly around and do whatever I wanted to. And in some of these dreams, I remember we would be flying over the ocean, and we would like dive bomb into the ocean and like jump in and out of the water while we were flying, kind of like dolphins do almost, just playing around the water. And we would be like soaring horizontally on the surface of the water, like so fast, but we're like right next to the water surface, and we would just put one finger in the surface of the water, and it would like skim along the ocean as we're going like 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it just the most surreal scenery you can ever imagine. And of course, all 5 senses are activated during these dreams, so you cannot distinguish them from reality and a dream. Like if you're not lucid consciously, you would have never known that it was fake. Like if you guys have had a lucid dream like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is indistinguishable from reality. Not all lucid dreams are like that, but when you have them, you will know, like everything you feel and touch and taste and smell, like it is happening in real time, and it feels like you're really in that environment fully. Another example of a lucid flying dream I had was around 7th grade, and this one's kind of embarrassing and a little weird, but it's also probably the coolest lucid dream that I had as a kid, at least I think. So I'm just going to tell you guys. But I've only had this dream one time, but it stuck out to me so much that it was the first dream that I wrote down, at least for personal reasons, like other than the essay that I wrote. Like, I just wrote this dream down because I wanted to remember it. And some part of it in some way felt really significant to me when I had it. So, in this dream, I was walking around in Costco, which I've actually had quite frequently as a kid, like just me being in Costco. Sometimes it's just a regular mundane dream, and other times it's like a scary dream where I'm hiding in like empty crates or like in one of the tent setups that they have, or like a hanging kayak. I don't know. They got weird. But if you guys don't know what Costco is, it's if you're outside the US or something, Costco is a huge warehouse style store that I loved going to as a kid because they had free food samples down pretty much every single aisle that you went down. And free snacks everywhere you go is basically like a kid's paradise. Well, I was walking along and everything was quite normal until I had that, oh wait, this is a dream moment. And I'm not sure what triggered it because nothing was really off in this dream, but I just had this feeling, like it was a feeling in the air. And if you know what I mean, I don't know, sometimes lucidity just happens like that. But once I gained lucidity, I ate all of the samples in front of me, of course. And when I looked up, I saw this super cute tall guy, probably like 20 feet in front of me, and he was just staring at me. So I ran up and jumped in his arms and we started making out. And then I just like left and I ran and flew straight up into the air. And the ceiling of Costco folded open for me. And I transcended into this light body and floated up through all of the layers of space. And like I could see like every different element of the stratosphere. And at that time, the symbolism felt almost like Jesus or like Christ consciousness to me. But I didn't think anything of it because when I woke up, all I was really excited about was finding out that I can make out with dream characters while I'm lucid and it feels like real life. And yeah, that's all that my seventh grade consciousness was excited about. And I also had never heard of things like the light body or astral projection or anything like that. So I didn't think twice when I floated up through all of the levels of space into the universe and my being dispersed into light particles. Like, that wasn't that crazy to me, even though like when I woke up after having that dream, I was just like, holy fucking shit. Like, that was insane. And yeah, first dream I ever wrote down. So I think that one is quite cool, and I like remembering it because I can still see it so vividly. Like, I cannot distinguish it from reality and like fake. Like, it felt so real to me. So, and I mean, I knew I was dreaming in like that realm, but yeah, it felt and looked so real, and I can still see it to this day. So, yeah, that one's probably one of my favorites from today. So this is around the same time. It was probably more sixth grade, seventh grade that I would have these dreams. But I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer a lot when I was in middle school. And it was like really scary back then to me. And I thought it was really good. But I would have these dreams, and they weren't lucid dreams in the beginning, but I would be dreaming that I was a vampire slayer and I was like being faced with all of these demons and vampires and creatures, and I would have to like kill them with a stake through their heart. And I remember having these dreams and being so scared, kind of like when I was a kid, and then gaining lucidity, and all of a sudden I wasn't scared anymore. I would just like literally slay the hell out of those vampires. And I remember this so vividly that I could feel like the stake going through their heart, and it was so hard to stake them. Like, you have to use so much like force. And I'm not like a violent person at all, but I just remember thinking that that was like really weird, and I did not like that feeling at all, but I had to do it because they were attacking me and that was the only way to kill them. Even in my lucidity, I couldn't find another way to stop them. I just had to kill them. And also I wanted to be a badass, and that's what I was. I was a vampire slayer, so I was gonna slay some fucking vampires. God damn it. But yeah, I just remember like taking control of the dream and being the vampire queen, and this was also a reoccurring dream. Pretty much all of these dreams that I'm talking about are reoccurring, because that's like the reason I remember them, is because I would have them all the time. But yeah, I don't remember like when I was talking about the lucid waking, like waking myself up in the middle of a dream. I don't remember any of those nightmares specifically. I just know that it happened all the time and they were nightmares that I was having. I don't remember what I was dreaming about. I'm pretty sure most of them were like chasing dreams, because I have those a lot. But yeah, most of these dreams, the only reason I remember them so well is because I would have them all the time. But yeah, I don't really have reoccurring dreams anymore. I have reoccurring dream themes and places that I go to, but I don't really have the same dream over and over again, which I don't know. I think that's interesting to me. But yeah, I think that was the last lucid dream that I had when I was a kid, or that I like can remember. The only reason I remember that Costco one is because it just really hit me of like, oh wow, I can make out with people in my lucid dreams. Yeah, that was kind of an amazing epiphany as a 7th grader. So yeah, that's the only reason I remember that one. But all of the other ones are definitely reoccurring dreams. But yeah, I think that concludes this episode of my childhood lucid dreams that I've had. I only have like a couple other dreams that I can remember as a child that weren't lucid, so I'm not even gonna bother talking about those. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys liked it, because I'm gonna do more, because it was super easy for me to record. I'm just like talking. But yeah, there's definitely gonna be at least a couple more of these, and then once I share all of the interesting ones that I've recorded, I'll keep you guys updated if I have any more, like maybe once a year or something. But yeah, thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.